Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Michael Cohen. Hey, Cohen, Judge Hellerstein, federal judge in the Southern District of New York, just wrapped up a hearing in a case involving Venezuelan migrants, another group that Donald Trump's administration wants to send to concentration camps in El Salvador. Judge Hellerstein did not hold back. He extended his injunction blocking this other group of migrants from being sent to concentration camps in El Salvador. And he was just brutal with the Trump lawyer. And the Trump lawyer described due process as like a moving scale. Judge Hellerstein said, I don't really even think the Alien Enemies Act invocation is legal in the first place. He goes, I think you need more than just saying that there are infiltration of gang members here to invoke the Alien Enemies Act and declare that there's an actual war taking place. He extended his temporary restraining order by 14 days before issuing a preliminary injunction, ruling on the merits, but he seems that he will issue a ruling on the merits. He compared what's taking place to an inquisition in the medieval times and a bunch of other statements like that. But, you know, Cohen, I think one of the things that this has also exposed and brought to the surface is, look, no one says they're vouching one way or another for, say, Abrego Garcia. What people are vouching for is due process, and that somebody like Abrego Garcia has the opportunity in America to present evidence to show one way or another whether he is or isn't.
Well, can I just stop you there for 1 second, Ben? As a lawyer yourself, remember that you're innocent until proven guilty in America, right? It's not as if Abrego Garcia has to come forth and demonstrate that he is MS-13 or not. It's actually the obligation and the responsibility of the government within which to say, hey, you are violating this Enemy Aliens Act, or you are a member of MS-13. The interesting thing is the only proof that they have so far is their word for it. And I'm curious, how many of you out there with us right now take their words for it, whether it's bullshit Barbie or whether it's Tom Homan or any of these people in the administration? How many people actually believe that this guy actually is the head of the New York chapter of MS-13, a guy who allegedly has never even been to New York? Now, let me be very clear. If in fact that he is MS-13, if in fact he has committed crimes in this country, and don't tell me that the crime is coming here illegally. In fact, he was here on a notice, and he was going to all of his court hearings in order to try to become a citizen. Can I also, for a second, Ben, stay with me, because I want to see your expression on this one. To those of you that have been with Ben and I in this journey for a while, or you follow me on my Mea Culpa podcast, Judge Alvin K. Hellerstein is somebody who is very, very important to me. And many of you have heard me read from the decision and order that he was the one who signed my habeas corpus petition when the government unconstitutionally remanded me back to prison because I refused to waive my First Amendment constitutional right. The man is a true literalist of the Constitution and an incredibly honest and fair judge. Already, this administration is attacking him as some far left-leaning, wacky judge. He is anything but that.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Supreme Court's order on Abrego 9-0 facilitate his return. I don't know if you caught this, Cohen, but in the district court proceedings where there's discovery taking place before Judge Zinnes, the Trump regime, basically rewrote the Supreme Court's order, and they claim that the Supreme Court used different language than it did, and it quoted their own made-up language to explain why they're conforming to the Supreme Court, and it literally is just not what the Supreme Court said. I mean, which, as you and I know, if any lawyer did that, that would be, the height of sanctionable conduct. And frankly, that's why I think also Judge Zinnes has put forward this process, because I think at the end of her process, she's going to make a finding of sanctions, either civil contempt or criminal contempt, similar to what I think we're going to start seeing around the country. But you mentioned Abrego Garcia being here under a work permit, right? Who gave him the work permit? The first Trump administration in 2019, right? An immigration judge in 2019 said, look, there's this double hearsay allegation against Abrego that going back to whenever, that he may be affiliated with MS-13. And what the immigration judge says is, look, you can't send Abrego to El Salvador, but because we don't think that he's a risk or a threat to people, he can work here in the United States under the withholding order. Can't send him to El Salvador. If you want to deport him, you can, but otherwise he could check in once a year with ICE. He can work here, right? He was here in the United States, no criminal history anywhere. It says that on the document, no criminal history. And he was here since 16. His 3 kids, worked in a union, was working in Maryland, married to an American. His kids were American citizens. And, here's the type of person who Trump sent to the concentration camp in El Salvador. And Cohen,
hey, Ben, would you do me a favor? Can you tell me whether or not those tattoos that Trump and his administration held up photos of, if they're accurate or not? On
the
his
Trump photo,
on his
yes.
pointer finger, he had a marijuana leaf, I guess to stand for M. On the second finger, his middle finger, my 2-finger salute finger, he had a smiley face. I imagine that is an S for MS-13. Then he had the cross on his ring finger, and I forget what he had on his pinky finger. But I don't believe that photo is accurate. I think it was doctored, and Trump just fell for it.
The doctored photo that Trump fell for, Trump like literally wrote MS-13 on it. Here's what I do know. There's no one other than Trump saying that literally stands for MS-13. I also think that that's a kind of a red herring here at all. Assume he has those tattoos, and it was a tattoo that he got before he got into the United States when he was 14 years old or 15 years old or 16 years old. Let me ask you on that basis, because you have a certain set of tattoos, which I guess, look, Pete Hegseth has tattoos, right? I mean, he's got all these tattoos on him that many people say those look like white supremacist tattoos. That's what they say. Should we send Pete Hegseth to El Salvador?
Yes.
Yes.
Ask me another question, Ben. Ask our brigaders another question. Yes, we should.
You can also think about, I'll give you another example, right? There were but there were famous people, some musicians who were out there supporting Trump this time around, or who did songs at the inauguration or whatever, who have backgrounds when they were younger, having been affiliated with a gang before at some point in their life, before going on a journey and reforming and becoming, a good person or potentially a good person, who's helped out. The question is, on the basis of a tattoo, does that mean you get sent to concentration camps does that mean you get sent to concentration camps in El Salvador? And then the president of the United States posts ISIS-style torture videos of you. And I think it's a little bit of a red herring, Cohen, because what they want you to do is they want you and me and others to vouch for Abrego and say, look, this guy, Abrego, of course, he's the greatest guy. I don't know one way or another. And I think the point is that, look, an immigration judge knew about tattoos, no tattoos, affiliations, testimony, all of these things in 2019. And the Trump administration in 2019 said that this is someone who can still work in the United States, and they gave him a work permit. So Trump 2019, Trump 2020, he got work permits. He never committed a crime here. That's what we know. But what we also do know is that you're entitled to due process here in the United States. And when you focus on Abrego, I think it also forces you sometimes to lose focus on other people too. Like, what about the gay hairdresser from Venezuela who's now in the concentration camp in El Salvador? The musician, the individual who had tattoos of Real Madrid, the soccer club or the football club, who was sent there. I mean, the data is reflective of 75 to 80% of the people now being held in a concentration camp in El Salvador, most of whom are not actually from El Salvador. They're Venezuelans and put in a concentration camp, have no criminal history. You know, it's interesting that one of the reports on that was from 60 Minutes. And did you notice the executive producer of 60 Minutes resigned today after he said his editorial?
He resigned out of fear. You know, look, Brigaders, one of the things that we try to do here on Political Beatdown, this network, Midas Touch Network, and by the way, can we all do me a big, gigantic favor? We have over 11,000 people with us right now. Everybody, smash a blue heart to congratulate Ben, my co-host, my brother, and the entire Midas Touch Network for becoming #1. Let me say that again. Numero uno. All right. As Abrego Garcia would say, for a Webby as the best podcast that's out there. Out of all, I can't believe it. I would figure it would be my Mea Culpa podcast, but it's not. And I couldn't be happier that it was Midas Touch, that it was Ben and the brothers, #1 that's out there. And there's a reason why. Let me say this, Ben, lead all the love that you're getting. All right. Let me say there's a reason why. And the reason is simply because here on this network, unlike what you're seeing, and the reason I was bringing it up is because the executive producer at CBS for 60 Minutes resigned in protest. Why? Because he wasn't allowed any longer. Imagine this, not allowed any longer to have editorial control over the segments that they were going to produce. Why? Because it didn't fit into the mindset of what this administration wanted to see on 60 Minutes or on CBS. This sort of control, this state control over media is so dangerous. Imagine if Ben and I had to sit here and all day long talk to you and say, Donald Trump is the greatest president in the history of the world. And everything that he does, doesn't he look fantastic? He's definitively 6'3", 215. I don't know if you know this, but he can kick a football 192,000 yards. He could throw on a dime for 100 yards from goal line to goal line. And by the way, did I tell you he actually won the U.S. Open 37 times? And I'm not talking about the golf. I'm talking about tennis, which is his second favorite sport. Imagine just how crazy something like that would be. But not here on this network, not a chance. Look at how much that Ben and Brett and Jordy and myself and Michael Popak and all of the different programs that you see on this network with our various different podcasts and with our different shows, how we end up fighting the system, which is obviously overpowering to even somebody like CBS. So with that, Ben, congratulations to the brothers too. Congratulations on this insane achievement. #1 podcast of the year, the Webby. Congratulations on behalf of myself and all of our brigaders. I'm speaking on behalf of all of them.
No, I appreciate it. And it's an honor that is shared with you, all of our hosts, this incredible Midas Mighty Beatdown Brigader community, because we built this as a community first network. Brick by brick, we built this together, and we built this around actually not politics. One of the interesting parts about Political Beatdown and the name is it's a beatdown on politics and a way to kind of have a resurgence of values and principles. That's a lot of the kind of play on words with the title, because we built this network around empathy, like love, like democracy, truth, objective facts, lifting up people, not punching down at marginalized communities, right? We have a very strong sense that is beyond politics of what this network stands for. And I think when you start with a sense of values and principles that you're fighting for because you believe in them, right? You then are not focused on the game stuff and the horse race. You're focused on the values and principles. When you strongly feel these ways, it's obvious which politicians are going to come and go. Politicians are going to make you proud. Politicians are going to let you down. Politicians are going to do everything in between, right? So the politicians can meet you at your values and principles, but you have to strongly set what those are and the lines that you are defending and holding, right? And so when people were always saying, when they were trying, Cohen, to do the narrative, you guys are, the left needed, someone who was like the left's Joe Rogan. And what do you think about that comparison? I would say, I think it's an incorrect comparison. I'm definitely not the left's Joe Rogan at all. I said, I think that Joe Rogan is a problematic individual, to say the least, who peddles the oligarchy's lies and disinformation and tries to normalize them to an audience using subterfuge of UFC and culture to ultimately trick people to vote against their interest. I think that's very, very problematic. And then it bullies marginalized communities. It has this weird view of masculinity identified in the bullying and mal and mistreatment of others and discrimination of others. So I just personally think it's highly problematic. I want us to be very proud where we stand on issues, where we stand on the democracy, that no, we're never going to punch down at marginalized communities. We're going to lift people up. I never grew up and thought about, oh, the masculine guy is the person who bullies, the gay person in class, or like bullies the trans person. Well, quite the opposite. To me, it was always like viewed as, what was viewed as like, strong or whatever was you help people, you lift people up, you give them a hand, you defend them, you support equality. And that's just been, I don't know why I digress there, but that's a major part of what our mission is. So when I see people who are being thrown into concentration camps, and I see how the media and corporate news, and I don't want to overgeneralize because there are some good hosts on corporate news, so I don't mean to use a sweeping brush, but in general, how corporate news just treats sending people to concentration camps and the abrogation of due process as just another side of the issue, versus how utterly horrific and what a betrayal of our Constitution it is, that it's a 3-alarm fire. That pisses me off. And I'm glad we have a network that is bigger than them now and gets more views, where we highlight right. The reality. And Cohen, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with the protests, right? Yep. The biggest mass protests maybe in the history of the United States have been taking place early in April with Hands Off, the We Dissent protest. Corporate news doesn't even touch the thing. Doesn't even touch it. Like
it's not like the Trump what do you call it, protest, which is called the hands-on protest. But I do want to say, in typical Trumpian fashion, I actually started a award myself, which is called the Selfie Stick Tripod Award. And like Trump with all of his golf awards, I'd like to present to myself this tremendous Selfie Stick Tripod Award, right, Ben? If you continue to do great, you could potentially win this next year. Okay. And I'd like to thank myself for providing myself with this wonderful award. I mean, that's the funny thing. Such a great honor. And I'm so proud of you, as all of our political beatdown brigaders are. It's really, truly, yes, I know, Matt, it is very funny, right? I mean, could you imagine? This is not some fake ass award. This is really a big deal. Of all the podcasts that are out there, right? The Midas Brothers, Midas Touch, and so on, to take the #1 spot. I mean, this is a real special thing. And Ben, I could say, as somebody that's been on this journey with you, or you, I should say, on this journey with me for 5 years now, 5 years. I'm so proud of you. I couldn't be more proud of you.
Well, I appreciate it. The dogs are evidently proud as well.
And by the way, just so you know, Ben, I didn't fix the algorithm for you guys to win. No, I had nothing to. No. Right?
All right. And speaking of, in Trumpian fashion, Donald Trump posted this as well. He goes, this is as his poll numbers are plummeting. I think the Reuters Ipsos has him at 42%, 37% on the economy. It's still crazy to me that 42% of Americans can look at what's happening right now, with, our economy in shambles, with the hostile takeover of the federal government, go, yeah, pretty good. But I support all this. 37% disapprove of his handling of the economy, and Trump posts the following: Trump's best poll numbers ever. Thank you, is what he was posting over the weekend. And then just before, he posted the following. He was in his Virginia golf club, and he was pretending that he was attending Easter services, but he was golfing in Virginia, and just making weird post after weird post, calling the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, a quote, major loser. It's one of the things that he was posting. And then he was walking around his Virginia golf course with a hat that says Gulf of America, yet another Trump development. And now they're selling that today, Gulf of America, yet another Trump development, on a Trump store where he personally profits from a Gulf of America hat. And I know in the swing of things, Cohen, this is something that's, small, but if anyone else did something like this, you think about Obama wearing the brown suit for a day, the parade of horribles with Donald Trump is such that corporate news normalizes this, and it's just expected that he's a weirdo, deranged maniac. And the corporate news and establishment here accept that as a given. We don't accept that at the Midas Touch News Network. And who else doesn't accept it is other countries. So
who else doesn't accept it, Ben? Our brigaders. All right. Right now we're somewhere, we have like 15,000 people with us. They don't accept this bullshit either. It's enough. There comes a point of time that we have to continue, which is, how many times have you heard me turn around, Ben, and say the same thing? Well, you have approximately 5 million subscribers to this network. It's not enough. Let's get it to 10 million. And after 10 million, I'm going to implore you to share it with 2 friends and get it to 15 million. Why? Because the bigger that we are, you remember during the mortgage crisis, you remember too big to fail? The only way to beat this group of individuals, it's not what the Democrats are doing right now. They're following just a terrible game plan, which is, let's raise more money. Oh my God, you see how much money Bernie and AOC are raising right now? Good, I'm glad. That's fantastic. That's not what wins elections. What wins elections are you, the voter. And when you're able to command a big enough army of votes, we cannot be ignored. Our voices resonate from the top of the mountain all the way to the bottom of the fucking plateau. I'm telling you, this is what we need to do, because the only way for us to turn around and to destroy these democratic bashing assholes, the only way to do it is to, as a community, to coalesce around one another. And why not coalesce around this network and the programs that are on it? Why not coalesce around the people that you clearly have something in common with? Now, you've also heard me turn around and say things, and I hear from some people to say, I don't believe in that. That's okay. That's okay. You and I, Ben and you, will never agree, or should never agree, on 100% of everything. You've all heard me say the famous Ed Koch quote: if you agree with me 6 out of 12 times, you should vote for me. If you agree with me 12 out of 12 times on policy, you should seek a psychiatrist. You're never going to agree with someone on anything 100% of the time. But we all agree on one thing. The Constitution is the most important document right now in this country, and they are destroying it. They are trampling on our rights, and we will never, ever, not here, not on the Midas Brothers, not on Legal AF, not on Political Beatdown, not on Mea Culpa. We will never, ever let that happen.
One thing I do want to mention, though, is you see the energy when AOC and Bernie Sanders were out in red states, when they were in Salt Lake City, when they were in Nampa, Idaho, when they were in red districts in California, like Bakersfield. They were traveling. They were in Missoula, in Montana. They were traveling the country, commanding huge audiences. And that's what you got to do, because even if you say that the people there, well, those are Democrats anyway, or those are liberal. Worst off, I don't know that, number one. But number two, when you do that, it solves the first mover problem, where oftentimes people are afraid to be the first to say, you know what, enough. This is wrong. But when you see tens of thousands of people showing up somewhere together, giving their time, joining in solidarity with a thing, other people start taking notice and going, you know what? I feel like that too. I feel that way. Wait a minute. This isn't normal. Oh, you're upset that they're sending migrants without due process to concentration camps. You're upset that they're talking about annexing Canada and conquering our neighbor and mocking Canada and calling it the 51st state. Yeah, I'm upset about that too. Oh, you're upset about the attacks on Europe. You're afraid about these tariffs. You're upset about the hostile takeover. You're upset that the only thing they give a shit about with the Department of Education is to use it to garnish people's wages. Did you see that? That they're going to be using the Department of Education to garnish wages for student loans, but otherwise abolish the Department of Education is what they want to do for purposes of the education, school lunches, programs that help disabled and poor kids, but let's use it as a way to attack people struggling in a Trump economy who have student loans, who thought they were going to be forgiven because Biden tried to forgive them, that Trump stopped, and now, and the Supreme Court and right-wing court stops, and now garnish their wages during an already difficult economic time, while the Trump regime fires tens of thousands of people at the IRS, thus reducing the ability of the IRS to appropriately collect taxes. Lots of people are going to find ways to try to avoid, rich people, billionaires, decamillionaires, to avoid paying the taxes, whereas former President Biden used the IRS not to go after regular folks, but people who were tax cheats. And that brought in money to the Treasury, all the while that Donald Trump's reckless trade war is causing massive problems. If you look at what's going on right now in the freight industry, in the trucking industry, you can start mapping ahead, which is what we do here at the Midas Touch Network. I want to look at shipping containers and see what the activity is like at the ports, so we can start seeing what's happening and where this is heading. Cohen, you can see by looking at the ports, by looking at freight, down precipitously. Right now, corporations are using their old inventory that they had stored, but they're going to run out when rare earth minerals that China's cut off stop being able to be stored by our corporations. Where we're heading to is a scarcity summer. What's going to happen when people, their AC breaks down and they're not going to have the widget to fix it because it came from China? What happens when people need school supplies and that came from China? What happens when all of that takes place? And Donald Trump said he was going to negotiate 90 trade deals in 90 days. And so far has negotiated 0 with countries that already had trade deals.
And he lies. He lies to each and every one of you when he turns around and says, they're all calling. They're all calling. They're all calling. It's nonstop. It's nonstop. They're all looking to make deals. Okay, maybe some are. But you know who isn't? China. That's who. All right. White House, close on Japan, right? And so on. That's fantastic. Fantastic. China has dug in their heels and they're turning around and they're saying, if you don't stop him today, we will never be able to stop him tomorrow. And so what do? They fight. They fight. They say, yeah, you're doing that to us. Here's a gift back to you, my friend. All right. Since we're such good friends, it's called the reciprocal tariff. All right. In fact, we're not even going to send you our stuff. We'll just sell it to somebody else. So those of us Americans who are used to cheap goods, Good luck finding any goods now for any amount of money. And as Ben said, who's not going to feel the pain at all? The billionaire class that's hanging around Trump. They have enough money for 100 lifetimes. For 100 lifetimes.
Well, because here's what they did. Let's be clear what they did. It's already been done. So right before the tariffs went into place against the world, they sold a lot of their stock to hoard their cash. They knew it was coming, and they sold when the market was high. So now they sit on their cash, and then they will, they'll put their cash in treasuries, even though the treasury market isn't great right now either, but they'll put it someplace else. And what they're going to wait for is the market to go lower and lower and lower. And then they're going to put all their money in. Like right now, the NASDAQ has been down since Trump took office, like 20%, the S&P down like 15%. The Dow was down, 9.8% or close to 10% since Trump took office. I mean, horrific stats like that. But the billionaires pull their money out at the right time. Then when it goes where they made their profits, it'll go super low. That'll crush most Americans' pensions and 401ks and people who want to retire. And then when it's super low again, and these people have a say in sculpting fiscal policy, they'll know when it's about to go back up again. They'll put all their money back into it. And then when it goes up, they'll take everybody for a ride again. It's why I like AOC and Bernie talking about these issues. When I interviewed Senator Bernie Sanders, he said something very profound to me. He said, Ben, the biggest issues that people face are actually the issues that nobody wants to talk about. He goes, if you watch media outside of Midas Touch Network, and he was complimentary of the Midas Touch Network. He goes, if you watch media outside of the Midas Touch Network, what are they ever talking about education really, or healthcare, or people living paycheck to paycheck, or the fact that people don't have a living wage and they have to work multiple jobs and still can't afford a home, housing affordability? Do they talk about that? Or what are they talking about now, Cohen, if you turned on corporate news? Is Kamala Harris going to run in 2028? What do you think's going to happen? Is Newsom going to run? Newsom versus Kamala, versus so-and-so. Versus, you know what? The people don't care about that. The people want coverage on the protest.
What bothers me a lot about, for example, like the Fox News, or whether it's even CNN, MSNBC, or any of those mainstream or cable news channels, they also are attacking, believe it or not, Bernie Sanders and AOC for getting out there. You weren't wrong, Ben, when you said that this message that they're trying to tell the American people is that, they got a nice crowd, 20,000, 30,000. It's no different than when Kamala Harris was out there filling up the stadiums, but you can't win with it because all they're doing is talking to themselves. I don't agree with that. I think that it's a very shallow way to think about it. I believe that they are resonating to that middle group, the independents, that 2 million more people ended up moving over towards the Trump side than to the Kamala Harris side. I believe that with voices like Bernie Sanders, voices like AOC, and who knows where they're going to be in 2028. Nobody's saying that she's running for the presidency, or I hear now from 25 different people, she's going to run for governor and so on. I don't care what she runs for, as long as she continues to get out there and to educate those individuals that fell for yet another lie from this administration. She's doing a great service. We just need more people like that.
Speaking of these lies, Trump's campaign was built on fraud, and Trump is a criminal. Trump is a fraud. Trump is a felon. Trump is someone who's been found civilly liable for sexual assault. So the fact that he's a liar and lies the moment he opens up his mouth should not be a shocker. And corporate news and right-wing podcast bros laundered his fraud and lies and normalized it and put it through a lens that connected with a group, with a subset of Americans who felt that the economy had left them out of the club. And they felt that they were going to get rich, that they were going to make all this money, that there would be no more war, that grocery prices would go down, that inflation would go down, even though it was going down, that their issues would be magically solved. That was the promise. The promise was on day one, I will solve it. I mean, we have this video here even of Trump's promises when it comes to peace in Ukraine. I mean, at the end of last week, you and I haven't talked about this. I'll play this clip first, and you and I will talk about it more in a little bit. But Trump said, peace in Ukraine, 24 hours. Even before then, I'll be able to do it. Here, watch this clip.
I do end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours.
Yes, I do.
How would you do that?
I know Zelensky very well.
I'll end that war between those two countries in 24 hours. It won't even take that long.
No one's saying this can be done in 12 hours, but we want to see how far apart it is and whether those differences can even be narrowed. So we came here yesterday to sort of begin to talk about more specific outlines of what it might take to end the war, to try to figure out very soon, and I'm talking about a matter of days, not a matter of weeks, whether or not this is the war that can be ended.
If for some reason one of the two parties makes it very difficult, we're just going to say you're foolish, you're fools, you're horrible people, and we're going to just take a pass.
I want to talk about that and more. We got to take our first quick break, and only quick break of the show. Reminder to subscribe to Michael Cohen's podcast, the Mea Culpa podcast. Subscribe to Michael Cohen's YouTube channel at The Michael Cohen Show. I want that YouTube channel to try to get 1 million subscribers, so make sure you subscribe there. And subscribe here to the Midas Touch YouTube channel. And while you're at it, you can check out Cohen's Substack and also MidasPlus.com, which is the Midas Touch Substack, where occasionally Cohen writes for MidasPlus.com. Let's take a quick break. We will be right back.
90-second commercial. You ever try launching a podcast with zero experience? Well, let me tell you something. It's like being tossed into a cage match with a grizzly bear, blindfolded, wearing clown shoes. Because when I started Political Beatdown with Ben, I thought, come on, man, how hard can this be? Script writing, logos, production schedules, ad deals, and don't even get me started on the tech setup. I mean, I feel like I was decoding a damn matrix. Now, if only I had Shopify when I launched this beast. Shopify is the platform behind millions of businesses across the globe, responsible for a whopping 10%. You hear that? 10% of all e-commerce in the United States. And my friends, that's not hype. That's fact. From big names like Mattel and Gymshark to folks just getting their hustle off the ground, Shopify's got their back. I mean, you want a gorgeous online store? Shopify's got hundreds of sleek, ready-to-go templates that make you look like a design god. AI tools? Yeah, they've got those too. Writing your podcast descriptions, jazzing up your images, maybe even making you sound smarter than you are. I mean, not naming names. And you need a marketing squad? Shopify's built-in tools let you hit email, Instagram, TikTok, wherever your customers are scrolling or doom scrolling. And listen, Shopify handles it all. Inventory, returns, international shipping. I mean, they are the ride or die business partner that you never knew you needed. So if you got a big idea or even a little one and you're ready to turn that dream into a reality, head over to shopify.com/beat. That's shopify.com/beat to start your $1 per month trial today. That's Shopify, shopify.com/beat. You know, some nights I just want to relax without wrecking myself for the next day. No hangover, no fog, no what the hell happened to my workout routine. I mean, that's why I've been turning to Soul's out of office gummies. It is a total lifesaver. Now, here's the deal. I stick to the CBD ones only. I mean, they help me unwind, they help me to clear my head, and they keep me grounded without the high. For someone like me who's juggling 1,000 things and still trying to dodge insanity, CBD hits the sweet spot. Calm, focused, present, and not waking up feeling like I did shots with Rudy the night before. Now, Soul is a wellness brand that believes feeling good should be fun and easy. Everything they make is from organically farmed, USA-grown hemp, vegan, gluten-free, and low in sugar. So basically, I can feel good about what I'm putting into my body, which is more than I can say for half the things I did while I was working for Trump. Now, my friends, that's a different story. I hand out CBD plus THC gummies like party favors, and they love them. It's a great buzz, good vibes, no hangover. Everyone's happy, and no one's texting their ex at 2 a.m. And if you like their out-of-office gummies, you got to try their new out-of-office beverage. It's alcohol-free, refreshing, and perfect for sipping without sabotaging tomorrow. So bring on the good vibes and treat yourself to Soul today. And right now, Soul is offering my audience 30% off your entire order. Go to getsoul.com. That's GETSOUL.com and use code BEAT, B-E-A-T. That's getsoul.com, promo code BEAT for 30% off. And trust me, whether you're CBD, THC, or, I don't know, little of both, Soul's got your back. Go there now.
Welcome back to Political Beatdown. Those ad reads, Michael Cohen, are A+. You managed to combine Rudy in there and a lot of and being in prison.
Listen, anytime that you're disjointed in your head, I think of Rudy.
So I should also the discount codes are in the description below for everybody. Cohen, I showed you that clip of Donald Trump's promises as it relates to Ukraine versus the reality, and like all of his lies, again, I don't want to overgeneralize the corporate news, and I know there's a lot to focus on when it comes to Trump, but the outcry that should be taking place with his lies there feels very muted when it should be at a maximum level. Yeah. Here's a guy who promised 24 hours that there would be peace in Ukraine. He lied. He promised that he would create peace in Gaza. He lied. He's made things worse. And then he posts videos of himself with Netanyahu, like AI images saying Trump Gaza, and then just overtly promoting the killing and the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. And he just
promised he was going to have the hostages removed in returned in 24 hours. Hundreds of promises, all within 24 hours. Price of gasoline, groceries. I'm sorry, keep going, Ben.
Well, you go through all of that, and I mean, just how about this today? You have Steve Witkoff, Donald Trump's envoy to Russia. The guy who sees Putin and puts his hand on his heart and says, "I believe everything that Putin has said." So we learned today Putin gifted Trump a portrait of him raising his fist after the Butler, Pennsylvania incident. Witkoff, Trump's special envoy, said Trump was touched by it. And this as Donald Trump was again posting over the weekend, both sides better reach a deal immediately. I want to see both sides reach a deal, in all caps. It's foolish. It's dangerous. It is destructive. And again, it's
un-American. It's un-American, Ben. Let's just call it for really what it is, right? It is completely un-American. Okay, Putin, a dictator, an adversary to this country, sends you a photo, a portrait of yourself. Great. Hang it up in the fucking Oval Office for all I care. Take down the Washington portrait and hang up the picture of you with your fist in the air. I don't give a shit if you stick it in a bathroom or you stick it in the Oval Office. It doesn't mean anything to me. At the same point, it shouldn't mean anything to any other American other than him, okay? The point is, he is pushing Russia's agenda over an ally's agenda, which of course is Ukraine's national sovereignty. I mean, this is just insane. It is, what do they say, insane to the membrane? This is beyond lunacy. And the truth is, I don't understand why he's even doing it. Again, knowing Trump for a decade and a half, sitting by his side all that time, I can't imagine in my wildest imagination that Donald Trump in 2025 was going to be this way. When I say that, I'm talking about the absolute worst version of himself imaginable. And a lot of this is coming from the people, the enablers that are around him, who are breathing stupidity into his ear. And for whatever the reason is, he's just absorbing their stupidity and making it his and fucking up this entire country. The whole
their
world.
whole thing too. I mean, the whole situation with Harvard, I think you and I touched on it a little bit last week, where Trump now said, or the Trump administration regime said, that their letter threatening Harvard was actually sent in error, that they didn't mean to send that with the current content, where they said they wanted to take over the admissions process. They wanted to audit student and faculty political viewpoints to make sure it conforms to what the Trump regime wanted. They wanted Harvard to get rid of all diversity programs. And there was a number of other requirements, basically turning Harvard and a lot of these other schools, they sent it to MIT also, as like a vassal institution that Donald Trump tells them, you need to teach this. So Harvard responded with Republican lawyers and said, no, we are not going to be, we're not going to agree to that. And they were public in their response. And then what the Trump regime said is, whoa, 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 our letter to you was an error. It was a mistake. Why would you respond the way you did? You, Harvard, you, MIT, and others, you should have known our letter to you was a mistake and not attacked us publicly. Now we have no, this is real. This is what they said, the Trump regime. Now we have to go after you because you attacked us publicly. So that's why we're going after $2.2 billion in your funding. Then they said an additional $1 billion in your funding because now you publicize our mistaken letter that we didn't mean to send you. I mean, you know, and again, if you look at all of the things the Trump regime is doing, from destroying our alliances, destroying America's hard power, destroying our military with all the Pete Hegseth stuff and promoting Hegseth as he sends more classified information, or we learned about other classified war plans to his wife and his brother and to his personal lawyer. I mean, the senior staff at the Pentagon have either, like, lots of them have been resigned or have fired. So actually harming our troop readiness, placing our troops in risk of harm, our hard power. Our soft power, UNAID. Now there's all these reports about shutting down military bases in addition to shutting down diplomatic offices by the State Department. So hard power and soft power being shut down, crippling our economy by making the dollar significantly, destroying the dollar, harming the bond market in the United States, making the full faith and credit of the United States in doubt, pushing away our trade partners and tariffing the world. And then also harming our labor market by engaging, by taking people who are here to work and sending them to concentration camps in El Salvador and then bragging about that.
Meanwhile, Ben, he's lying again. He's lying to everybody when they turn around. They say that the letters that were sent was sent in error. It was a mistake. I want to remind everybody that in 2019, there was an article that was done by Grace Ashford. I believe that was from the New York Times. Michael Cohen says Trump told him to threaten schools not to release grades. And just in case you're not 100% certain, that's the article. That's right there. In fact, I did do it. And there's the letter, for example, that I had sent on my Trump letterhead, signed with my little squiggly diggly at the very bottom, whereby I actually threaten the schools not to release his information. He is very much about the threats. This was not an accident. He directed people to do it. It blew back into his face. And as I wrote in my Substack today, Trump takes no accountability for anything. It is always somebody else's fault. And so in this specific case as well, oops, it's a mistake. Don't trust what the news says. Don't trust what Ben Meiselas says. Don't trust Michael Cohen, that's for sure. All right. It was an absolute mistake. blah, blah, blah. And so an absolute and total lie. By the way, Jeremy, if you have the picture of the letter, I want people to see it. I want people to understand that this letter is real. And I bet you that this letter is used in parts the same right now that they sent to Harvard as a threatening letter. I bet it reads very similar.
Yeah, you know, as I was taking those things off, also, one of the things that they're doing also is destroying America's education system, both by attacking the Department of Education and then our revered institutions that are doing the most cutting edge research, MIT, Harvard, and others. Donald Trump is attacking them as well. So literally ripping apart the kind of fabric and the strength of America. You know, but what are the MAGA Republicans focused on right now? So, you know, as a lot of Democrats, not all, but are doing Democrats doing these town halls, and Democrats are out there going into red districts. That I appreciate when I see them doing that. I mean, who are the big MAGA Republican Congress members who they keep on platforming on Fox right now? It's people like Nancy Mace, right? And you have people like Nancy Mace out there, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and others. And it's all this like bizarre, performative, cosplay, WWE style thing. And it's, other than the job of a Republican Congress member, if you were working any other job and you behaved this way, you wouldn't be able to work. Like this is not how human. At some point, you take away the politics and you ask about human being behavior. Like, is this how adult humans are supposed to act with other humans as an adult? I look at it like that, and I go, no. Take a look here, Nancy Mace. She's in her district, and an individual asked her if she would be doing a town hall. She recorded this. She posted what I'm about to show you online. She wants the world to see this. So she posts this, and then as a result, she gets invited on Hannity. She gets rewarded for it.
Shocker.
And this is what they focus their news cycle on, rather than the economy and the tariffs and all of the other things that Trump is screwing up. Here, play this clip.
I do them every year.
Every year.
You want to keep
Are you
going?
gonna do any more this
Do you want
year?
to keep going and
Are you
keep
gonna do-
harassing me?
I'm asking if
You
you're
could
gonna
have
have any more
gone to
town
a
halls
dozen
this year.
town halls last
I
year.
asked if you're doing any more this year. It was one simple question.
Yeah.
Are you doing a town
I've
hall
already
this year?
done one. I'll do
Are
plenty
you doing
more.
any more this year? It was a simple question.
You're always invited.
Okay, sweet. We'll look
And
out
by
for
the
an actual
way,
invitation
I
for the
voted
next
for
one.
gay marriage twice.
What does that have to do with
So
me?
I'm just saying, it has to everything to do with you.
Do you think everything about me has to do with gay marriage?
I do,
That's your
absolutely.
first stance when you
Yep.
speak with me?
Absolutely.
There's no other humane
If you want to get in my
conversation you
face
can have
about town
me?
halls, you should have shown
There's
up to
no
one
other
last
humane
year.
thing you can talk about me just saying, oh, I support gay marriage.
Yeah,
That's the
because you're
only thing
getting
you
in
have
my
to
face
say.
about a town hall. You
Oh,
could have
just
gone
ask me one
last year.
simple question from right
Would you
over
like
here
me?
is if you have any plans to have more town hall this year.
I have town
That was
halls
one
every year.
question.
I have over a dozen
Okay,
every year.
Great. That was my entire question. You didn't have to go
Yeah.
into this spiel about
You
everything
could have.
Wow. Wow. You know, the funny thing is, I would like to give Nancy Mace, when I saw that video, I was sitting there and I was saying to myself, you know, she's so deserving of the two-finger salute for trying to play that card. But I still have to reserve the two-finger salute for Pete Hegseth, for Signal Gate 2, right? The sequel of stupidity is what I would call this, where he's placing our national security in jeopardy. What are they waiting for? Till something happens here again on American soil? Do we really need to relive another 9/11 type moment? I want you to think for a quick second of just how dangerous Pete Hegseth's stupidity actually is. Imagine that the enemy knows when you're going to attack, the equipment that you intend to use, the location that you're going to attack. What if they show up with military equipment to prevent that, putting our service members' lives in harm's way for no reason at all? Remember, because all of these idiots are on this Signal chat, which is completely, and I don't care what anybody says, it's not encrypted. It's just an app. And I assure you, both our allies and our adversaries have access to their chat messages. They already know what's going on. What if, hypothetically, God forbid, a billion times, that it ends up coming back here to America, where we are completely unprepared for a retaliation, or it's just to our service members where this attack is going to be? I am so fucking furious. The fact that they have no regard for our military, the people who are putting their lives on the line for our democracy, so that Ben and myself and all of you together cumulatively as a community, that we can share our thoughts. We can just express ourselves, because that's what the Constitution allows. And these morons, and there's no other way to describe them, I don't care, this Ivy League idiot is going ahead and doing it on an app that you would basically, I don't know, text your wife that, how many pies of pizza should I bring to the party? I mean, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So Pete, for God's sakes, wake the fuck up, smarten up. And in the interim, fuck you.
Look, you think about this crew like Christy Nome, whose pocketbook or purse got stolen, and she had $3,000 in cash in her purse and medications and other things that somebody got. She's the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, who ostensibly has Secret Service, and that can happen. You have Pete Hegseth engaged in this reckless behavior, which he then justifies and doesn't say, hey, we're going to improve. His statement is that this is what he said today, that this was informal, or said yesterday, this is informal, non-significant data that's absolutely fine to share with people. And this is just disgruntled employees who are claiming that this is classified material. You know, I had the opportunity, Cohen, to speak today. I'll probably drop the interview tomorrow with somebody by the name of Sabrina Singh. She's the former Pentagon deputy press secretary, so she knows about this stuff. And one of the things that we were talking about during our interview is that on the dark web, or the black market, or however it's referred, the Houthis have representatives who buy this information. And there are the hackers who go in to find the information, and they have very sophisticated ways to transact once they have the info, to send the plans and whatever right away. A monetary deal is arranged, and the hacker is compensated. The nation, the group that gets the information gets it quickly. So there's actually a process, you know, with the Houthis to try to get this information. Similarly, when it comes to any foreign adversary or any intelligence service, if the Houthis are doing it, other services have the ability to get and gather this type of information. It's why these communications have to happen on government devices in sensitive compartmented information facilities to block that from happening. Otherwise, it's happening. So we don't know right now, and the Trump regime will cover it up. What does Iran have on Hegseth and on our equipment and on our capabilities? What do they have? What do the Houthis actually have about our capabilities? It's believed that there are at least 20 other signal text communications that you and I know, Cohen, the Trump regime, are going to cover up. What do those talk about? Do those talk about sensitive information about nuclear submarines near Australia? I don't know. Do they talk about nuclear capabilities that we have in in various regions? Who has this info? But the fact that when confronted with clear war plans, clear classified information, the Trump regime's response is, nope, that's not classified information. And what I've always said before, what Trump's an expert at is being a fraud. And what these people are really good at, expert level, is that they can come together, lie in such a big way, like they did with the 2020 election, and just push the narrative so much to shock and awe the reality of it. No, not classified, not classified, not classified. The way, and they have their catchphrases, right? Abrego Garcia, what do they say now? Michigan man hoax.
Hey, can we see the other 15 or
Man hoax.
16 different texts? Hey, can we see the other 15, 16 different? Nope, those are classified, right? The stuff that is leaked. By the way, the thing that is driving Trump crazy right now, the fact that the New York Times wrote down that there were 4 individuals that corroborated the story on Signal Gate 2, and that they were able to even get them the proof, some of the photos there. Trump is furious, not because Hegseth went ahead and put this on Signal again, but because it was leaked. Trump hates leakers.
And that's what they're, the leakers that.
Is the leakers.
But y'all are saying that this is not classified information. You're saying it's not. What are you upset at them leaking if you're saying that this is normal information intended for the media? And then also what Hegseth goes is that, and then it got into the hands of the editor-in-chief from the Atlantic. You put him in your chat, Waltz put him in the chat. The national security didn't just get their hands on it, and then they attack the Atlantic guy. This disgruntled, awful fake news reporter. It's, and here are the tactics of authoritarian regimes, and we have to recognize it. And they push and push. One of the things too that Trump is freaking relentless with the lies. It's a fire hose, never ending, never tires of it, just pushes it out there, and has all of these people, despite Michael Cohen's warnings, he's going to throw you under the bus. They think that they're different, they're special, and then boop, 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 there they go. But here we are, Political Beatdown, the Midas Touch Network, the Beatdown Brigaders, the Midas Mighty, and our message is breaking through. And so when we find out that we won Podcast of the Year from the Webbies, when we find out about all of that, we know that that's not possible if it weren't for all of you, the Beatdown Brigaders, the Midas Mighty, this pro-democracy community. We're going to keep on building this together each and every day, every step of the way. So thank you all so much. Cohen, it's always great spending this time with you. There's an award show. I'm going to go to New York to see you at the award show coming up
and
as
I
well.
will be seeing you there. Somewhere or another, I'm breaking in. I'm
Break
going
in.
to go in as Bernie Sanders, and they will never, ever, ever, ever kick me out. Ever.
That impression's next level. Everybody, make sure you subscribe to the Mea Culpa Blue podcast. Just search Mea Culpa, subscribe there. Cohen's got some great guests on there. Subscribe to the Michael Cohen YouTube channel at The Michael Cohen Show. Let's get that YouTube channel 1 million subscribers. You want to check out Midas merch at store.midastouch.com, including we've got Maple Midas gear, 100% made in Canada, 100% manufactured, distributed in Canada. You can also get it in the US, but we got Maple Midas gear at store.midastouch.com. And then make sure you subscribe here on the Midas Touch YouTube channel as well. Thank you everybody so much for watching. We're grateful for all of your support. Elbows up, fists up, whatever. We got you. We'll see you next time on Political Beatdown. Shout out Brigaders. Shout out Midas Mighty.